of the business and the business realities, all of that could be there. So the goals of any company define how the HR is structured. So let me elaborate it. So let us say that the goals could be in multiple forums. So first, it could be about revenue, that we will grow our revenue by 20% in the next 1 year and 50% in the next 3 years. It could be a goal. Now, how do we do it is that either we will go to a new geography. So let us take, if you are only an India-centric business and you have not been in Northern India, you would say, okay, we'll open up North India this time. You may talk about saying that, all right, one of the issues which we are facing with our business is that customers complain about quality. So we are going to improve our quality. So whatever it is, we'll improve our quality by, let's say, 1%. So we were at 98.5, we want to go to 99.5. Another could be in terms of on-time delivery. Now, revenue is a function of all of this. So if you have on-time delivery, you have great quality, your customer referrals increase, you will get more business. If you go into newer geographies, you will get more business. You want a new product to be added, you will get more business. All of this adds up to larger revenue. Now, let us say that we have decided that we will go into a new geography. We have also said that we want to improve our quality and we want on-time delivery to take place. So these three things we are looking at. Now, how does it convert into what is typically known as an organization structure, or who all should you have in your company, or what should be the roles in the company? Now, if we want revenue to increase and we want to add more clients, it is obvious that we have to add people in business development and sales. If we want a new geography, let us say if it is India, then we may want someone to be placed there because sale is typically done in location. If we are saying that we want to improve our quality, we may want to hire a qualified quality head who drives quality initiatives across the company if they have not been done. If we are talking about on-time delivery, we may want to get someone to do our time and motion study, or get a better production planning and control person in the thing. Now, once these roles have been defined based on the business goal, this becomes your organization structure. Now, the next thing you have to look at is that to get this goal, what do each of these people have to do? And which brings us to the essence of human resources, which is the performance management. So it means we have to set goals for them. We have to say what to measure, how and when to monitor. Now, I'm going to talk about certain experiences which I had with for a few of my clients only by implementing a performance management system. Now, let us say that we wanted to grow our revenue by 20%. So it easily flows down that if the revenue has to grow by 20%, the sales team needs to get a goal of improving your existing sale by 20%. So let us say your sale was 100 crores, the sale becomes 120 crore. Now this 120 crore becomes his target. Now, because this becomes the target, what we have to set for his goals is also about how does he achieve the target. So the 20 crores is not going to come. So the ways of doing it typically, and that is what we are going to talk about setting goals. It would be that you need to possibly add 30-35% more clients. So today you have 50 clients. You need to add about 20 more clients in the coming year. We are going to talk about saying, all right, these clients should come, but your profit margin, because the easy part is to sell, but the difficult part is to sell at the margin which we want our business to be sustainable. So we also have to set a goal for him saying that your profitability margin overall for each product line could be this. We may want to say that at the same time that if clients have to be added, then the team needs to go out and meet more people. Your lead generation needs to get better. So we measure lead generation, or we say the number of visits or the number of client meetings which happen, the number of quotes which have gone, the number of proposals which have gone. We may also look at number of closure of deals. So in addition, one of the goals could also be collection, that the number of outstanding beyond payment terms could not be more than A, B, or C. Now, when we look at this, we have already set 5 or 6 goals. So the first goal is increase revenue by 20 crores. The second is ensure that profitability is maintained at 3%, 5%, whatever is the thing which is sustainable for the business. Third, we are saying you have to add 18 more new clients in this coming year. And we can further break it down by saying quarter on quarter. So we may say 5 in the first quarter, 5 in the second quarter, 5 in the third quarter, 2 in the fourth quarter. Now, once we do this, we say, okay, collections, number of collections beyond payment terms cannot be more than 5% of net sales or 2% of net sales, depending. Now, what we are doing is that we are setting up clear, measurable goals for the salesperson. First, these goals are set. At the same time, you will also see that we have put a measuring criteria. 20 crore is a specific number. 18 clients is a specific number. Number of new clients is a specific number. Collections not to be overdue collections, not to be more than 2% of net sale, specific number. Now, what happens is that when you set up an objective and specific performance criteria, it is easy to monitor. And if the performance parameters are not met, we can give the required push, feedback, and action plan to the person to do it. Now, let us assume that the first quarter he was supposed to add new clients 5, but he could only add 4 clients. Now, when we do the review, and which is the last part which I'm going to come up, which is the periodic review, we will find out that he has not met his target. So the action plan is that he needs to meet more clients in the next quarter. And instead of the 5 which he would actually add, he has to add 6. So the target changes midway for him for the next quarter. Now, we know what to measure. We have understood how to measure. And the last part is how and when to monitor. So normally reviews are held every 2 months or every quarter. And the reviews are held by the person who is the manager. So for the salesperson, if you are the owner and you are reviewing, you need to review. And I'm going to share 2 or 3 success stories of different businesses which I have consulted with in terms of what has happened. So let me talk to you first about a company which was into pet accessories and pet foods. So they are the largest importer in India now. But at that time, 4 years back when I started with them, they were not this big. Owner had a problem that he was unable to grow sales. Sales had been running flat for the last 2 years. And in spite of adding more sales people and changing sales people, there was no result. He was having a system by which he would talk to people, but there was no formal system of review. So I was introduced to him and we set up a performance management system exactly like I was giving the example for the sales team. He had 30 people in the sales team and we set it up for everyone and we started reviewing them every month. And I'm going to give you an indicative number. So just to get the percentages. So let us say his sales per month was 1 crore in the first month. In the second month, it became 1 crore 12 lakhs. By the 6th month, by ensuring that we were monitoring and setting up the action plan, it became 1.67 crores. Today, after 4 years, the turnover is 3.5 times what it was when we started. Only through measurement, monitoring, and feedback. The interesting part about people is that the moment they know that they are being measured, we become conscious. And when we become conscious, we start focusing. But if we know that we are not being measured, there is no measurement criteria, most people tend to ease off without intending to. I'll give you another example. I have Another client which is into, they make equipment for pharma companies. So they make machines for pharma companies. And we started working about 3 years back. And again, by setting up, so they had problems of 3 kinds. Number one, sales were not growing. They were static in 2 of the product lines out of the 5. They had major issues of on-time delivery across, and lot of their material was getting sent back because of poor quality. So we set up the performance management system, and at the end of 1 year of monitoring, their business in these 2 product lines grew by 14% and 18% in a year. Their on-time delivery moved up from 60% to 87%, and their quality issues and return of material went down to 2% from a 7 to 8% which was there existing. Now, all only because of performance management system, but the performance management system or the reviews were done for sales team, the sales support, the manufacturing, which is the operations team, and the quality team, as well as the dispatch. So all 5 are connected, and their goals were interconnected and set up. And we reviewed every month for the first 3 months and every quarter after that. There was another client of mine which are into the manufacture of elevators. So they make elevators and they also do AMCs. So when we started working, they did not have any of the HR systems which we talked about. They were struggling to hire the right people. People would not join, and they could not attract. So typically the quality of people was very poor, and they knew it, and they talked about it. At the same time, the revenue from the service arm was very low, although the service arm had the maximum people. Again, we set up the system. In 1 year, the service arm improved their revenue by about 35%. Now, why I am giving you these examples and stories is because this is the single most differentiator in any business. Setting goals, setting up a measurement criteria, knowing exactly what to measure and how and when to monitor. Now, once this is done, what it helps you do, it helps you be very clear about who is an average performer in your company, who is a poor performer and who is a great performer. And I am a great believer of differentiation, because a great performer is like a top athlete. If you don't look after, the person becomes exactly that. Now let us say that I am a great performer and there is another average performer, let us say. But at the end of the year, everyone gets the same increment. How long will I remain motivated to do more for the organization? I don't get promoted or everyone get promoted at the same time. So the criteria of promotion is only time and not performance. So what we have to do is that thereafter, we connect performance to compensation and reward, and there is a lot of systems around it, which means once you have the performance, you have to give differentiated award. Now, typically, when you pay to people, we always talk about budget, saying, okay, what is my budget? So for most organizations, and again, when I am just giving you examples, so I do not know exactly what it would be in your industry, but there are certain benchmarks of compensation as a percentage. In most manufacturing organizations, it is between 4 to 6%, which means your salary cost or your people cost cannot be more than 4 to 6%. 6% on the outer edge, 4% is what is ideal. And the math around it is because there's a machine cost, there's a cost of raw material, which is almost 50 to 60%. If you do the maths, if you want about 8 to 10% of net profit, or maybe 8 to 10%, that is your cost of manpower cannot go beyond it. The moment it goes up, it adds to your budget or reduces your profitability. So you have to set up a system of compensation and rewards, and it has to be transparent and known to all. So someone must know that if I do a great job, my increment is going to be at least 20% or 5% or 10% better than the average performance. And this needs to be communicated. When you do that, you are attracting the right people to come into your company. Now, let us move now to another thing which I talked about, which is about differentiation and communication. Now, when we are looking at differentiator, and I think I talked about it before, the differentiator cannot be tenure in the company. The differentiator cannot be how many years the person has been in the role. The differentiator has to be what has been the performance. So if you have a great manager who joins and you have a vacancy for a senior manager or for a promotion, don't worry about whether he's been 2 years in the company or 10 years in the company. What has to be the cause is whether the person has done what you are supposed to do or not. Yes, anyone said something? Hello? Charaji, you're
no,
on mute.
Rajiv, you can carry on, please.
Yeah, please. Okay.
Just coming in. Yeah.
All right, not a problem. Okay. Now, the another thing which I'm going to talk to you about is how do you attract and retain the best talent in the company? And this is one of the questions. Finding good people is a problem. What's the solution? Recruiting companies versus online platforms. How best to use them to your advantage? And I'm going to cover this now. So, I've already talked about what a good employee or a great performer is looking for in the company. Now, if you are unwilling to set up what we talked about till now, which is a clear policy framework, a clear performance framework, a clear rewards, differentiation, communication, and to a large extent, organization culture. If you are going to hope that good people are going to join you, it is going to be very, very tough. And again, I'll give you example of one of the clients I had. So I was working with a 300 crore company, which has 5 plants. It's a manufacturing company. So 3 of the plants were in India, 2 in Gujarat, 1 in Valsad, 1 in Daman, and another one in close to Bombay near Thane. They had a plant in Dubai and a plant in Kuwait. So we started working with them, and again, it was simple. So every day, so there were 2 brothers and 1 father. Father had a multiple bypass. He was 68 years old. And every day in the morning from Bombay, these people used to go to their factories. The father used to go to the Thane one and used to come back in the evening. The 2 brothers used to go to Valsad and Daman and stay the whole week and get back. And whole day they were looking at this business only. And when I started working with them, they said, we cannot get good people to join. And when we did a little analysis of what is the problem or what we typically call like an HR audit, we found that none of this was there. And people did not join. So once we started fixing this, so it took me 1 year with the help of the owners to set up everything, post which we could attract the best talent. Now for the HR manager, which we could not find anyone, we could hire someone from XLRI at a reasonably good cost, but he was doing a great job. We could hire managers for each of the factories who are again very qualified. The end state was that in 18 months time, all these 3 people used to then go to the plant only once a month for reviews. Balance everything was managed by the employees, the right people whom we hired. And every week they used to only get a report on Excel which told them what this is supposed to happen. So all these systems and processes we set up for them. What happened is that because of this, they could focus on the growth of business, and today they are over 500 crores turnover from 300 crore turnover, which was 3.5 years back in a very competitive industry. Another thing which I would like to talk to you about when we are talking about differentiation is that you need to be able to pay good money for good people. One of the things which I have experienced is that there is a little reluctance in SMEs to pay people a good amount of money. But please understand that it is at the cost of your time. When you hire someone who's not good enough, you will find that you spend a lot of your time managing that person. And none of us put value on your time. So you need to understand, if you are running a 50 crore company, what is the value of 1 day of yours? And you will find that if great people are not there or good performers are not there and you have to supervise everyone, you will end up spending almost 1/4 to half your day only looking at things which someone who, if was capable, would be able to do. Now, let me move on to the right people. So I'll look at the question now, and since I am in recruitment, I'm going to talk about recruiting companies or online platforms. Now, the answer to this is depends. It depends on the number of people you keep or you hire. So if your hiring is less than 10 to 15 people a year, an online portal does not become cost effective. Then it makes sense to use a recruitment company, but a recruitment company who understands your business. Because please understand that the recruitment company is your representative, and the recruitment company is the one which is going to talk to the prospective employees about you. So they are your reputation, they are your face, they are your speech. So you need to hire the right person. But if you have more than 15 people, then it makes sense to look at hiring or using a online platform, because then what you pay for it, the online platform, you get your money back. The second question connected to this one is, how do you solve the problem of candidates not joining after accepting offer letter? So anyone understands why people don't join after accepting an offer? So whenever an employee gets an offer in hand, what they do is that they will start checking up. Like most employers do a background check or a reference check about the employee. The employee also does a reference check about the company. And it is possible that somewhere the person hears something which tells him that possibly he will not be a great fit in your organization. I know it is hard to accept, but this is what they would have heard. And they would have heard it either from an ex-employee or from an existing employee. And that is where we talk about what is the organization culture. How do you treat people? Now, when we are talking about treatment, we are saying what is the environment which you have built in your workplace. Do people feel comfortable coming up with their problems to speak to you? Or if they come to you, the senior leadership in the company tells them, this is not my problem, you fix it. Is there open communication about issues which people face and a desire by the senior leadership to cover that? When you ask someone to go, or when someone leaves the company, how do you treat that person during the last 10 days, 15 days, 20 days? Do you still tell him that or treat him like he was part of the family, or do you get upset with him and say, you are leaving us, so we don't care? What happens to the full and final? How quickly are the final accounts cleared? How quickly does the guy get the relieving letter? The essence we are talking about is that when someone leaves, that is the most important and the strongest emotion which the person carries about the company. And if we cannot get that emotion right, and if we cannot get that person to feel great about the company, that even though I was leaving, they looked after me, they wished me well, and they were happy for my growth. If he doesn't get that feeling, when he's going to talk to people, he's going to talk not so great things about the company. All right. Now, let us move now to questions from top. So the first question which I got is, my business is very small by 5 and 6 staff in office. How will I benefit by implementing HR practices? So this is a great question, and let me put it differently for you. No matter, even if there are 2 people in the company, which is one is you and one is the person who runs your plant, if that person doesn't. It is important to have clear expectations in terms of policy framework. It is important to have clear performance parameters for yourself as well as for the other person. Because all of us are in business to grow. So today you have 6 people, but how do you ensure that you get good people to join? By having great HR practices, having the right policy framework, by having the right performance management framework, having a great culture where people are happy, having a lot of employee engagement activities, which don't cost. So if anyone wants, I can send a list of 20 or 30 employee engagement activities which do not cost much. Okay, the idea is that do you interact with them and do you get involved with them all the time? So in my opinion, if you implement even for 6, what it does is sets the framework for them to perform. It sets the benchmark for them to say, okay, this is what I need to do. And so basically, if you sign a contract, and I said it's a contract between you and the employee, the contract needs to be crystal clear, because as businessmen, you will not get into a sales contract in which everything has not been given out clearly. Does implementing HR mean having a separate department, or is it a function I can handle as well? So again, a great question. I am impressed with the quality of question, Sharadji. It's just outstanding, and which tells me that everyone is thinking. So HR is not a function or a department. HR is a methodology. And your HR manager or your HR consultant or your HR advisor is just that. He is a subject matter expert who advises you. The ownership and onus of running the complete human resource function is with the operation leadership. So the senior people in the company, the owners, in a lot of companies, I have found relatives who are having senior positions. It is for everyone. That it is everyone's responsibility. And like I gave you the example of the 3 engagements which I had, in all of them, it was driven by the owner founders. So in the company, which is the elevator company, there are 4 partners. All 4 were equally involved in implementing everything about HR. The pet food business had 2 people. Both partners, both did that. And the medical or the pharma company has 2 people, again, father, son, and both implemented it end to end. So you can run it. What you need is someone to set up the system for you. Once the system is run, set up, and you can, system is set up and you are trained, you can run it easily. Now, the third question which came to me is, how is HR system that covers an entire organization applicable where the top management is my family? So I talked about the fact that unless the senior leadership, which means everyone involved and which is including the family, understand that HR or human resource processes are a tool for growing business, then only they will get the buy-in. So in case you want to implement HR in the complete organization, what you have to do is to get every family member understand that if performance is measured for everyone, if performance is monitored for everyone, the business will grow. I'll give you an example of another client I had. There were 4 brothers who ran 4 different lines of business or product lines. Each of the brothers had 1 or 2 sons who were in the business. So about 9 people of the family were in senior positions. What we did is that we set up a system in which they reviewed each other's performance in a monthly review meeting. We set up goals for everyone. We set up measurement criteria for everyone. And the method was that all of them used to sit in a conference room and in one day review everyone's performance. And based on that, took action plan which improved their business. So that is what I would recommend. All right. Finding good people, I have done it. So let me move to the 6th question, which is when is the best time to use outsource HR and in-house HR for company like us? Now, again, it is a function of your budget. So if you are a company who's possibly in the 300, 400 crore bracket and your budget is high, maybe you can get a senior HR person who can think, design, and set it all up for you. But if you are thinking that you do not have the budget of hiring a senior guy, now senior HR person will not cost you less than 30 to 40 lakhs a year. Someone who has the ability to set up all this, which we talked about. So if you feel that you are unable to spare that much money, then it is good to get someone from outside to set it up. And then you can hire people who are in the 30 to 50,000 per month bracket to run it for you. Good, sir. So 55 minutes I have, as promised, cover. But I would love to take questions because I think I would be happy because I'm not very sure of whether I have been oversimplific or a little too complex.
No, I think it's been wonderful so far and very, very relevant or just at the level, I think, what we are looking for. So I think, guys, few of your questions have been answered. Apart from this, any generic question or any specific question related even to you, please feel free to ask. Anyone?
Hello, Rajesh.
Hi,
Yeah.
Kunal.
Hi. So my question is, so we're a company who has about 300 employees.
Okay.
The HR, we're a family-run business. We're about 30 years old in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
The HR is something that was my initiative in the company when I joined a year and a half back.
Okay.
Now, that's the department that I have tried building up,
Okay.
having absolute no knowledge about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been great by now. But
right.
there are a few challenges that we face.
Mm-hmm.
Is as my industry is a very volatile industry when it comes to employees going from one position to the other,
Mm-hmm.
like from one company to the other.
Okay.
Retaining becomes a very big factor to us.
Okay.
Now, most times the only retaining factor comes down to is now if I have someone had his increment done in the month of January, he plans on to go and join a new company in the month of March, who may
Okay.
give him a 10% rise.
Okay.
Now, the only thing that we lag back is, okay, if do I give him that 10% again and retain him, or how do we let him go, or how do we retain him without having that increase of monetary in it?
Okay.
Because
So,
because
yeah.
we've already given him a good increment in the month of January. Now, to give you an example, and in the month of March, he comes down to saying, "Sir, other companies paying me 10% more."
Okay. Wonderful. So, thank you, Kunal. It is again a very interesting question, and I think it's something which everyone in the company faces. All right. So, it is a aspect which I will now cover, which is called talent management, which is not something which I had looked at. Now, what you have to do is that in your organization, you need to specify critical people. Now, these critical people are across your hierarchy. So they could be at managerial level, they could be at the supervisor level, they could be someone who's even running a machine. But someone who's critical, who has the right attitude. When I say critical, he should have the skills and he should have the right attitude, which is what you are looking for in your company. And obviously, if you want, I can explain attitude depending on your company's culture. So the way your company functions, is there alignment with the organization goals or the company goals and the way this person is working? So all of us have a method of working, the way things are done in a company. If someone is aligned, that is person, and who is always willing to give a little extra, that is the kind of attitude I'm looking for, and he has the requisite skills. Now, what you need to do is that start pinpointing your critical people across the board. Now, they cannot be more than 15% of your net headcount. So if you're looking at 300 employees, they cannot be, and I'm not going to look at the casual worker in this, or the guy who is just lifting stuff from here or there. So I'm talking about machine operators, I'm talking about supervisors, I'm talking about quality people. So pick 15% out of them and highlight them, which means you must know that they are the right people. So a lot of places, the performance management system will throw up the performance. The attitude is something which you start judging when you interact with the person a little more. Now, these 15% people, you need to tie them down, which means that you have to say, I do not want to lose this person for 5 years, or I do not want to lose this person for 3 years. Correct? Now, this is what we are looking at. So a method to do it is what is typically known as a delayed retention bonus. Now, a person will leave the company for maximum in today's world about 12 to 15% increment. Beyond this, no one can give. And if they give, then the guy gets priced out, and it is not worth trying to hold on to him unless he is an outstanding performer. So what we need to do is that is 15% of the people. So let us say I want to hold one guy, and let us say his salary is, let's say, 50,000 rupees a month. Now, he will go leave by company maximum for a 60,000 hike. What we do is that we set up what is known as a retention bonus, in which every year I put a lump sum, which is equal to 10 to 12% of his pay in a fixed account. He can only draw, and this starts accruing. He can draw 20% at the end of year 2. He can draw 40% at the end of year 3, 4, and 100% at the end of year 5. So what it does is that every year he's saying, if he leaves, he's going to lose more than what he will gain by joining another company. To the organization, what it does, it adds 1 year's salary to over 5 years. Approximately. It's approximately 1 year's salary over 5 years, which you have to pay to the person. What it does is that the person cannot leave. I have implemented it in multiple SMEs, and it is working very well. Kunal, does it answer your question?
Yes, that does help. And
yeah, so you can drop me a mail. I can send you a calculation. Take a look at it.
Surely. I'll get back to you on the same. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Anyone else? Mohit has a question again about, I think it's about the calculation about over 5 years. So
yeah, I will share an Excel with Sharadji, and he will share it with everyone.
That would be great. I think that answers your question, Mohit, right?
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah, Harshit.
Yeah.
So as you know, a lot of us have family. I mean, most of us, I don't know about many, but have joined businesses which our fathers have started, and therefore there are employees which have been around for more double the period that we have been at the company for. So when hiring new employees, potentially people who we feel would be more aligned to our goals or with a better outlook, but their roles are very overlapping to what people who my father has hired 20 years ago at whatever different salary level or function level, who's still with the company. So
Okay.
how do you advise us sometimes to bridge this kind of thing? Because having two employees for the same role obviously doesn't work.
Yeah.
Then, so that is
Yes.
sometimes a problem which we all have, and
Good. So let me articulate this question for you. Yeah, a little better. Yeah, Arshal, can you hear me? Hello. Sharaji, can you hear me?
I can.
Yeah, okay. So
I think we all can. So I
yeah,
presume he can also. Yeah.
so I think let me articulate the question a little better. Yeah, because I've seen this in multiple companies now. So basically, there is someone who's a legacy employee. The legacy employee has
Wait a minute.
yeah, not a problem. Is it okay now? Can I talk?
Harshil? Harshil, can you hear?
I think he's this.
Not a problem. So let me articulate the question and let's hope that he can get back. So this is something which I have faced multiple times in my consulting experience, especially with manufacturing firms. So what Harshil is talking about, there is a legacy employee who's been there in the company for maybe 20 years, 30 years. As time has gone by, increments has happened, the role has increased, but the skill level has not improved as the business has grown. When we look at the role which that person is doing, there are issues with that role. So we feel that it is better to get someone fresh, someone with the right skill sets, right qualification, right technical qualification to do that role. Now, when we get the new person and we set up the role for him, the legacy employee either gets a little uncomfortable and starts interfering, or just stops doing anything. So what do we do in a case like this? I think that is the question which Harshil has asked. So again, there is no hard and fast answer, but I can suggest few things which we have done. So we found that a lot of the employees who have this kind of experience, people who joined 20 years back, but unfortunately have not scaled up in terms of skill sets, in terms of their ability to cope with modern times, use modern equipment, systems, processes. So what do we do with them? Now, it is unfair to ask them to go because they have given their best years to the organization. So what we do is that see if you can find a role for that person, mainly in monitoring and checking. Sometimes it is also on if you have a client site or you need something. So a lot of time they have been used in dispatch. I've used a lot of manufacturing or machine operators who have become supervisors and then floor managers. Move them to dispatch because the advantage is that they understand the intricacies of the product and the customers very well. So we've tried to move some people in quality. We've got them trained in quality. So we've got them trained by a specialized person on how to do quality parameters because they know the product very well. We've also put them in procurement, a lot of people in procurement because raw material procurement becomes a major part. And again, because of they know the business very well or the product very well, they tend to excel there. We moved a lot of them into dispatch and supply chain. So depending on the aptitude and the interest, you could move out the person out. But my recommendation is to have a conversation with the person because we need to put the apprehensions at rest. We have to tell that person that you are still valuable, but why we are getting a new person and why are we changing the role? Out of maybe 10-15 cases that I have dealt with over the last 2 years, there has been only one case where we've had to, because the person becomes so disruptive that we had to ask the person to go. but we gave a very good settlement so that the person did not feel bad. Now again, like I said, it's going to be case to case, but these are the few options which you can look at. I would typically look at reskilling and moving to a role which is more suitable for that person.
Okay,
Thank you.
Darshil, I think that answers your question pretty well.
Yeah.
Next is Shivanshu.
Yeah, hi. मेरे पास दो क्वेश्चंस है. Like first, generally जब भी हम लोग न्यू टैलेंट लाइक न्यू एम्प्लॉय रिक्रूट करते हैं, जो लाइक जो भी रिक्रूटमेंट एजेंसी से अच्छे लगते हैं, जनरली उनकी पैकेज एक 3 या 4 ईयर ऑलरेडी एग्जिस्टिंग एम्प्लॉय जितनी आती है, तो उसमें जनरली जो भी एग्जिस्टिंग एम्प्लॉय है उनको बहुत दिक्कत होती है. इसके लिए नहीं बिकॉज उनके परफॉर्मेंस के हिसाब से उनको सैलरी नहीं मिलती, बट ड्यू टू जो एक एम्प्लॉय जो ऑलरेडी कुछ आता नहीं है, बिकॉज एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में कितना भी अच्छा है एक्सपीरियंस एम्प्लॉय हो, उसको थोड़ा ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में समझने के लिए 3 से 4 महीना जाता ही जाता है, तो उसमें बहुत प्रॉब्लम होती है कंपैरिजन की वजह से. तो उसको
थैंक यू. सो आपका सवाल, लेट मी सी इफ मेरी समझ में आया ठीक से. आप बोल रहे हैं कि जब भी हम एक नया एम्प्लॉय लेते हैं, वो नॉर्मली एग्जिस्टिंग एम्प्लॉय के कंपैरेटिवली महंगा होता है. He costs a little more, and because when he comes to the company he is not good enough because he has to understand the organization, उसे समझना पड़ता है, तो उसका परफॉर्मेंस इतना अच्छा नहीं होता, लेकिन पे ज्यादा होती है. तो जो एग्जिस्टिंग एम्प्लॉयज है उनके अंदर डिस्क्वाइट आ जाता है. सही समझा मैंने? यही सवाल है आपका?
राइट.
Yeah. So Shivanshu, there are 3 things which I will talk about here, and I think it is a good question that you have asked me. So one of the things which I have seen when people hire, and this is something which I wanted to cover but which I missed out, so let me see if I can do it now. So जब हमने रोल की बात करी थी, तो आपको ये देखना है कि उस रोल में आपको क्या परफॉर्मेंस चाहिए, और वो परफॉर्मेंस करने के लिए उस आदमी में क्या क्वालिटी होनी चाहिए. Now that quality needs to be written down. So this quality is typically what we call selection criteria. Like जैसे हम देखते हैं कि भाई अगर हमारे को मैन्युफैक्चरिंग में चाहिए तो उसको ही शुड बी अ मैकेनिकल इंजीनियर या मेंटेनेंस वाला, ठीक है. इसी तरह हम कहते हैं अभी अगर वो सीनियर पोजीशन पे है तो कम से कम 5 साल का एक्सपीरियंस चाहिए. तो ये क्वालिफाइंग क्राइटेरिया है और सिलेक्शन क्राइटेरिया है. इसी तरह आप स्किल सेट्स को भी देख सकते हैं कि क्या वो कम्युनिकेशन कैसा है, अगर उसका रोल है, क्या उसने, अगर वो टीम मैनेजर के रूप में आ रहा है तो हैज ही मैनेज पीपल बिफोर, हाउ डू आई टेस्ट वेदर ही विल बी एबल टू डू इट राइट. बिकॉज नॉर्मल टेंडेंसी क्या होती है कि हमारे सामने एक आदमी आता है और हम उसको देखते हैं और बोलते हैं यार ये फिट हो जाएगा, ये फिट हो जाएगा हमारे पास क्योंकि ये ठीक ठाक लग रहा है, बट जो ठीक ठाक है वो ठीक ठाक राइट नहीं है. सो इसलिए पहली बात तो ये है कि आपको अपना हर रोल के लिए सिलेक्शन क्राइटेरिया बड़ा क्लियर होना चाहिए कि आपको उस रोल में क्या ढूंढ रहे हो, आप उस रोल को करने के लिए क्या क्या क्वालिटी है, क्या क्या स्किल सेट है, क्या क्या बिहेवियर चाहिए आपको जो इसमें सक्सेस करेगा, और उसके बाद आदमी को ढूंढिए. तो व्हेन यू स्टार्ट फिटिंग द पर्सन टू द रोल, देन यू विल डू अ बेटर जॉब रादर देन पर्सन कि हमने बंदे को देखा और बोला हाँ ये रोल में फिट हो जाएगा. तो पर्सन को रोल में फिट होना चाहिए, रोल पर्सन में नहीं फिट होना चाहिए. पहली बात तो ये है. दूसरी बात जो आपने बताया कि जब बाहर से आदमी आता है, एंड अगेन मैंने ये बहुत देखा है, अगर उसकी तनख्वाह ज्यादा है रिलेटिवली, तो साथ वालों को उससे जलन होती है एंड दे स्टॉप हेल्पिंग हिम, दे डोंट टीच, एवरीवन इज होपिंग दैट ही फेल्स. इन लॉट ऑफ ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस आई हैव फाउंड दैट हिज वर्क इज सैबोटाज्ड, कि अगर वो मशीन ऑपरेटर है तो उसकी मशीन में कुछ उल्टा सीधा डाल देंगे. मैंने देखा है यहाँ तक कि अगर एक नया सुपरवाइजर आया है और उसकी सैलरी ज्यादा है, तो पुराने सुपरवाइजर उसके लाइन में जाके मशीन की सेटिंग बदल देते हैं. तो जब वो काम करता है तो क्वालिटी इश्यूज आते हैं, और दे ऑल्सो थ्रेटन दी मशीन ऑपरेटर की तुम बताना नहीं. तो आई हैव सीन अप टिल हियर sabotage. So what can you do about it? So the first piece is that when a person joins, and I am constantly saying that transparency is the key. क्यों आप किसको कितना compensation दे रहे हैं, ये अगर आप बता दें लोगों को तो बहुत अच्छा रहेगा कि भाई अगर आप इतना करेंगे तो दिस इज द इंक्रीमेंट यू विल गेट, इफ यू डोंट डू दिस दिस इज द इंक्रीमेंट यू विल नॉट गेट. दैट इज द फर्स्ट पार्ट. सेकेंड इज आपकी कंपनी में 2-3 अच्छे लोग होंगे. whenever a new employee comes, assign these good senior people as mentors to him. Tell them to help him set up and to ease into the role. Teach him so that he comes up faster into the curve. And अगर बाकी employees उसको support नहीं कर रहे हैं, then these senior mentors can get into it and ensure that they help. Does this answer your question? Or you
Yes,
want?
yes.
Yeah. So what
Yeah,
we have to do is a great onboarding system. We have to ensure that our selection criteria is right. And third is that we need to ensure that mentoring happens and there is someone who is supporting a new employee in the first 90 days. That is the critical period where success or failure of a new employee happens. First 90 days. Agar first 90 days he is not having a great time, he has already started working on the CV. And that is where you will have this problem that log join nahi karte. Ya join karte hain, uske baad chale jate.
Okay, Shivanshu, next question. You have another two. Does that answer your question or any more?
Yeah, just one more. Like after that, I'm done. एक चीज और, लाइक आपने जो सेल्स परफॉर्मेंस, जो आपने परफॉर्मेंस बोला सेल्स के रिलेटेड, सेल्समैन के रिलेटेड तो जनरली हो ही जाता है, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं आता. बट सबसे ज्यादा मेजरमेंट आता है जो अकाउंटेंट है, जो इम्पोर्टेंट पार्ट प्ले करते हैं. उनका काम ही खाली लाइक वो भी इम्पोर्टेंट है, लाइक उनके बदले किसी नए को नहीं बिठा सकते. बट उनके परफॉर्मेंस में लाइक उसका क्या क्राइटेरिया या उसको क्या मेजर, किस तरह से और अच्छी तरह से मेजर कर सकते हैं?
ठीक है, तो अकाउंटेंट का नॉर्मली, सो आपने अकाउंटेंट का रोल लिया विच इज टिपिकली अ सपोर्ट फंक्शन. एंड आई हैव आल्सो फाउंड दैट अकाउंट एंड फाइनेंस इज द टफेस्ट टू मेजर, बिकॉज इनके यहाँ क्या है कि इट इज ऑलवेज अ पेनल्टी बेस्ड काइंड ऑफ थिंग, कि अगर वो सब कुछ ठीक करेंगे तो उनको एडिशनल कुछ नहीं मिलता, लेकिन गलती, सो व्हाट वी मेजर इज टिपिकली एरर्स और ओमिशंस. सो टिपिकली भी से भाई आपने सारे लेजर भरे, तो लेजर्स में अगर गलती है ऑडिट में तो तुम्हारा प्रॉब्लम है. जीएसटी कैलकुलेशन ठीक है, इनकम टैक्स कैलकुलेशन ठीक है, और कोई टैक्सेशन ठीक है, अगर उसमें गलती है देन देयर इज अ प्रॉब्लम. इज योर P&L being made in time? Is he able to produce the P&L by 7th every month? Annual audits, and typically in accounts or in your business there will be 6 or 7 key numbers which tell you what is the health of business. So is he able to do that? Agar finance ka function hai, or if finance is also with the accountant, which is there in most of the cases, what happens to working capital? Is he able to predict whether working capital आपको अगले 15 दिन के लिए कितना चाहिए, 1 महीने के लिए कितना चाहिए, keeping the inflows and outflows. Credit control कैसा कर रहा है वो? What kind of credit outstanding these things payments are there, first to the creditors and second to the debtors. So you can measure all of this.
Okay, thank you so much.
So next is Vishnu.
Hi Rajiv ji, this is Vishnu speaking.
Hi Vishnu.
I'm from a company called Phase 3 and we're an export company.
Okay.
We're actually a green channel supplier, which means that our goods go from our factory straight to the shelves of the customers. So I wanted to ask you, is there a way of identifying what is it that our employee cost should be as compared in reference to sales? So you mentioned 5 to 7%. Is there a way of actually identifying?
Absolutely. There is. So let me explain to you.
Yeah.
So you start with the end state. What kind of net profit do you look at in your business? What do you want? Okay. So I gave you a manufacturing example. Now I used to be HR head in a IT company. All right, Hexaware Technologies, and before that I was HR head for Western Zone for Wipro. So in IT, the net profit which we look at is 30% at least, pre-tax.
Okay.
Now, because we do not have out there raw material, our raw material is people. So our people cost used to be 50%. Okay.
Yeah.
Then we have to look at establishment and utilities, which is typically administration cost. For IT business, we used to keep it around 14 to 16%. So what is your cost you start removing? Then there is business development, which is typically sales, marketing, and general administration. Your trade shows, your travel, your marketing, your social media, your website, any kind of marketing activity comes there. So usme, out there we used to have about 14%. So if you add up all that, we were left with 30. Now, if what we had to ensure is that the employee cost needs to be below 50%. If it is below 50%, we make more money. But if it goes beyond 50, then the business owner used to get a problem on his KRS or his goals. So similarly, what you can do is that you can put all your costs. So look at your cost as a as a percentage of your revenue, and typically see what is your profit you want, and then you will come to your manpower cost. जब सब कुछ निकल जाए और profit निकल जाए, जो बचा, that is your manpower cost to a large extent. Now, I just want to put a little rider here.
Yeah.
If you are a growing company and you are growing at 30-40%, you may find that your manpower cost is higher because you are investing in great people for your future growth. But if you are a static where you are moving maybe 12%, 14% every year, then the 4 to 6% which I talked about is there. Yeah, you had a question, so please continue.
Yeah, so honestly, it's in our industry. I'm also in the textile industry. All of us here are in the textile industry.
Yeah.
So it's actually very difficult to identify what you want to keep your net profit margin as, because here you're competing with so many other people, and when we have to quote for businesses, and when you're supposed to get a program, you're quoting with the likes of Wellspun, you're quoting with the likes of Alok, you're quoting with all the big guys,
Yeah.
So it's very difficult to identify okay, my net profit should be X. So to come to that value, so you're saying work backwards, but if I myself don't know what my net profit should be for this particular program that I'm planning on.
Yeah, so what happens is that you look at benchmarks across. Yeah. So in your industry, what is your benchmark? So I'll give you examples of multiple industries. Okay. So typical manufacturing gives you about 8%. All right.
8% is net profit or employee cost?
Net profit, and that's a typical manufacturing. Now trading typically goes to about 14 to 16%, but it is not textile trading because I don't know textiles. Okay. So I have only one textile client as of now. And and who's into manufacturing. So we're not going to talk there. But the idea is that in your head, you need to have a figure that in good times, I want to have this. And if I have to compete with the Wellspuns, I'm okay with this. So let's take an example that I would want to have 8%, but whenever I'm competing with Wellspun, I'm okay with 6% or 5%. Now, you may be always competing with the Wellspuns. Then you need to say that if I want more profit, where else can I cut cost? Because at the end of it, it is all about efficiencies. You don't need 100 people if 60 can do the job at a cost of 80 people.
So is there a way to identify if suppose an activity, we have 100 people working for that activity, is there a way to identify that you actually need only 60 for that? Is there a simpler way of identifying rather than the owner or a manager being there and making
No, there is no. So that's the point, that when you look at your goal and you look at so there is a interesting concept called time and motion study. Yeah. Which you can get a consultant outside or you can do it yourself. So the simple method is just check what each person is doing. And is there a way of efficiently doing that?
Yeah.
Can you automate some stuff? So let me give you examples. A long time back, those ledgers used to be filled by hand. And it used to take 3 accountants 100 entries per day. Now today with Excel and Tally, a lot of stuff gets done automatically. Old times, we did not have online stuff. Correct. So all your export documentation, someone had to go to the office, get the stamp done. ensure that the documents are right. After 4 days, you will come to know that एक document missing है, फिर कोई लेके जाता था. Everything is online. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what you need to find is that do you have the right people? Now, my experience has been that if you get one smart guy who is expensive, that person will take away or do the job of 3 people who are not so smart, and who will, if you add their salaries, it will be about 10-15% more than that guy. So one is get the right people, and that's why I'm saying that for each role you need to define first the roles required to deliver your business, the outcomes on your business, and that's where I talked about the organization structure. And the
Correct.
second thing you need to identify is what each person is doing. So when you get the roles defined, you will find that a lot of roles may be infrastructure, and the damage is done not by the 15,000 wala admi.
Yeah.
The damage is done in the middle layer where you
Correct.
have people who are, so because their cost is high.
Correct.
Although it is not to say that you should not look at a rationalization at lower level, but manpower cost, so it tends to add always, because हमेशा ये लगता है कि हमारे पास बहुत काम है. Everyone will tell you sir बहुत काम है. Look at finding how you can do better things through technology.
Okay. Just to finish it off, you said that you spoke about time and action.
Yeah.
Time and action study.
It's called a time and motion study.
Time and motion study. Sorry, you said there are agencies that actually do this. Can you identify some of these agencies for us to help us? Maybe if we have to hire them.
So I don't know anyone specifically, but I can always Google and find out.
Okay.
There are a lot of consultants who do this.
Yeah, we can help you with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Rajiv ji.
Okay. So Harish Kumar ji next.
Actually, जब भी मेरा प्रॉब्लम है कि हम लोग मैनेजर का रिव्यू करते हैं, तो जब भी जैसे होली का टाइम आया, फेस्टिवल्स का टाइम आया, तो लेबर या मशीन जो ऑपरेशन करते हैं वो कम हो जाते हैं. तो वो लोग जो है वो लोग का पास चांस नहीं, वो है प्रॉब्लम. तो कैसे रिव्यू को देखना चाहिए अपन को?
देखिए, रिव्यू में हम लोग ये देखते हैं कि अगर सामने वाले जिसको हम रिव्यू कर रहे हैं, what we are reviewing, is it within his power to manage or not? All right, now होली पे हर जगह से लेबर भागता है.
हाँ.
बट अच्छी कंपनियों में तब भी काम होता है,
पर एफिशिएंसी थोड़ी सी.
No, efficiency, at the same efficiency, I'm saying, at the same efficiency. So typically there is overtime. There are some people who are kept back. There are people who are paid a little better. Some are kept on relationships. ठीक है, some places contract वाले से आपकी बातचीत अच्छी हो रही होती है. So I am not saying that it is not a problem. I am only saying that the efficacy of the manager is how well he handles the problem. But if it is something which is not in his power, अब हमने बोला कि भाई तुम्हारा on time delivery होना चाहिए, पर raw material नहीं आया उसके पास because ये लॉकडाउन हो गया. अब उसके परफॉर्मेंस रिव्यू में ये थोड़ी बोल सकते हैं ये तेरा प्रॉब्लम है. We need to understand and say, okay, we will not cut marks for this.
Okay.
Now, does it answer in some way? See.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we are also nearing our time limit. So I think there is one question which probably out of politeness or whatever these people have not asked, but something that I have always felt with them is they are generally sons joining their father's businesses. तो अपनी HR policy वगैरह ये सब तो सारी ठीक है, but one of the first instructions given by the dads and very washed over is कि do not disturb our old employees. Don't do something which upsets them या उनको हमको फिर वो छोड़ के चले जाएंगे वगैरह वो होगा. So how do these people tackle that legacy and bring about change without causing change?
Wonderful, sir. So it's a very interesting question, and so मैं आपको example नहीं दूंगा, but let me see if I can handle it right. So to convince your father, and I have also tried to do long time back. So the only thing which will talk for him is money. if through your process you can prove to your father that it will make more money and not cause disruption, he will support you. So the way to do it is run a small pilot in a very small place. So अपने किसी एक डिपार्टमेंट में, किसी एक प्रोडक्ट लाइन में, anywhere where you can test out your ideas, and you will have zero chance of failure, which means when you implement, you need to be very, very clear. Everything has to be thought out, everything has to be checked, every contingency needs to be planned for, and then do. हर किसी को ये अब होता है कि यार ये आदमी चला जाएगा तो मेरा काम रुक जाएगा. And the older we get, the more this problem comes us, because we do not want turmoil in our life. जब उम्र कम रहती है, then we feel we can rule the world, but as you get older, you start becoming risk averse, and it has got nothing to do with anyone's specific personality. This is reality of our life, that the older we get, the more risk averse we get, basically because our facilities are not so good. I am not as stronger, I can't run as fast, my brain is not, उतनी मेहनत नहीं कर सकता मैं, तो मैं बोलता हूँ भाई इतना हो गया मेरे पास, तो उसको चलने दो. So do not disrupt, and I have faced it multiple times. Most of the clients I have are like this, where there is a father who has set up the business and the sons have started working. What you need to do is to have a proper business case for the change you are doing. Existing employees say you have to take into confidence and assure that person that your job is not going. 90% problems come because that person is worried कि I am 45 years old, I am 55 years old, अगर मेरा ये काम छूट गया तो मेरे को कहीं काम नहीं मिलेगा. And that is why they resist change, and even if you implement things, they will ensure that it gets short circuited. And that is where the problem is, because उनको पता है कि अगर मेरा replacement आ गया तो फिर मेरे को बदल सकते हैं. So they want this to happen. So understand that mentality, understand their apprehensions, understand their fears, talk to them, explain to them the need for change. अगर आप के पास है तो ये किताब खरीदिएगा, if you can buy. It is a very interesting book. It's called Leading Through Change. You will find, can you see it all?
I'll type it out. Leading Through
Change. It is a HBR, Harvard Business Review, Leading Through Change. इसमें 6.
by who are the authors?
This is compiled. It has got an article by John P. Cotter, Chanling, Paul Stubble.
Compiled by, or who are the publishers? कुछ so that
Harvard Business School. Harvard Business
okay,
School.
Okay.
HBR का है ये standard. These are. Read this, and there is a, so Cotter का इसमें first वाला ही वहाँ पे है. So read this book, you will find that 90% of your change effort is about communication. Great. Unless you get people on board, everyone will resist change. हम खुद नहीं चाहते. आप एक दिन अगर अपनी घड़ी दूसरे हाथ पे पहन के देखिएगा, see if you can keep it the whole day. You will keep changing it. Right. Because we are such creatures of habit that we want things to be exactly the same, because we love predictability. So until you talk, until you communicate, and there is nothing called over communication. The more you communicate, the better it is. तो हर आदमी से आपको बात करनी पड़ेगी. Look at running a pilot in one area. Show results to your father to say that whatever are my ideas, they are working, and there is no risk. Like I was working with one client, उनका business था, तो father had started on a cycle, and then he is now reasonably, he runs a business of 100 crores. उनके बेटे ने मेरे को hire किया to make these changes of HR processes system. So his father told me कि सर अभी मैं कार चलाने वाला हूँ, मेरा सबसे बड़ा डर ये है कि मुझे फिर से स्कूटर या साइकिल ना चलानी पड़े. अभी मेरे बेटे को हवाई जहाज चाहिए, वो मेरे को नहीं चाहिए. So what it says is that there is fear of loss. Because सब कुछ चल रहा है, ठीक चल रहा है, मैं क्यों बदलूं? तो इसके लिए, like I said, business case, test in a small pilot if possible, and constantly communicate. You will only get your point through reason, logic, and business results. If you can prove it, then I am sure that your father will support.
Okay, great guys. So anything in conclusion? I hope you all people have really liked this and got this session wonderful. Anyone would like to say anything on this session?
It was a wonderful session, and I mean, we're happy to have this done again if possible. And there are a lot of questions that could be solved from our end. So thank you so much for that.
Thanks, Kunal.
Thanks, Kunal. Thank
you. Anyone else?
It was good session and nice to know the basics of HR, and it was nice to learn all the things.
Thank you, Rajiv ji. It was really nice to hear you, and thank you for removing time. I also have a lot of questions. I probably would like to ask you privately. So if I can get an email
sure.
or something.
We will set up the channel. We will give the communication channels that you can people reach out directly to him through us or whatever. And I'm sure we would be glad to respond on that.
Thank you so much, sir. For your time.
Thank you, Rajiv ji.
Thank you, sir. So thanks all.
Okay, thanks Rajiv ji a lot for taking this time out and giving this very important knowledge, because for these people it's very necessary to understand the importance of HR and team building. And we'll be in touch. I think as I said, a lot of people have a lot of questions now. Maybe we'll share your contact details or through me or whatever. We'll set up this.
Thank you, sir. Whatever suits.
Look forward to after the lockdown opens, and if you are in Mumbai sometime, maybe we have a physical get together with all these.
Sure, I'll make that happen. Aunga main.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Thank you.
Okay,
bye, sir.
Thank you, Rajiv. Thank you,
thanks
guys.
all. Bye,
have a wonderful day.
Thank you, everyone.
Stay safe.
Bye.
Okay, bye. Bye.